everyone. Happy Tuesday and happy So What Day. I hope you're having a great start to your week. It is back to school time already. Isn't it crazy? I feel like summer just started, and at the same time, I feel like it's been a long journey. But I'm sure you're already seeing all those back to school posts on your social media feed and everyone with their cute little signs that so and so is headed back to school again. Some people are already starting this week. My kids have a couple weeks to go, but I will say now that they are getting a little bit older, it's even more hectic in the weeks leading up to the first day of school because there's, band camp and there's all the sports are starting and everything just gets a little bit more intense as they get older. So there's a lot going on, especially in these last couple weeks before my kids start school, at least. Um, yeah, I don't know what it is. So much going on. Anyways, so I thought it would be good to do a little back to school tutorial today. I fell in love with this cute little pattern. It's called Tiny Totes, and I linked directly to it in the description of today's post. It is not my pattern. It is by A Spoonful of Sugar. And, I must have come across it on my social media feed, quite honestly. And I wanted to change it up a bit. And speaking of things like band camp and, all the clubs and all the sports, with all of those commitments comes a lot of fundraising. Am I right? If I had a sound effect that went wah wah, that would be for fundraising. Fundraising is such a drag, but it is so necessary for these programs. So I like to volunteer my time a lot when I can't necessarily volunteer my dollars, but I want to support them any way that I can. And sorry, there's a gnat flying around my face. Anyways, with this band camp that my son is starting this year, I have decided, because I am a glutton for punishment, that I am going to do the craft fair. I know, because I am a crazy person. But all of the proceeds go to helping out the kids. And, I could make some cash for the holidays, which would be kind of nice. So in all of my spare time, I'm going to figure out what to sell at the craft fair. But you don't live in an environment like this and not do the craft fair, right? I mean, anyway, so if you all have some ideas for, what I should do at the craft fair, I'm trying to keep it small. And so speaking of small, this tiny tote, I really thought this would be a great thing for me to sell at the craft fair because they come together quickly and easily. You can use a lot of scrap fabrics because it does not take a lot of fabric to create. And in fact, you can make them super scrappy and use a strip of this fabric, a strip of this fabric. So I'm going to kind of go over the first one that I made. And with everything, I like to change it up and kind of make it my own. So instead of following the pattern instructions, of course, I went rogue and decided to take my own twist on this pattern. And I really like to do that first off when I'm presenting things to you all, because I don't want to copy this person's design and then teach it to you. I mean, it's their pattern. They spent all of that time creating it. So I want to celebrate that pattern, encourage you to go purchase it, and then show you some different ways how you can make it your own. And then, of course, you will share your ideas for making it your own, because there's tons of options, as with almost every sewing project, to change things up and add to it and, make it unique. So I'm going to show you the tiny tote, which I have transformed into what I am calling the pretty pencil pouch. This is what it looks like. So cute. I changed up all the dimensions and I added this little flying geese panel to the center of it. So I'll show you that. I will show you how to kind of decipher the dimensions of your flying geese. If you want to substitute those for a panel in the Tiny Tote, look how tiny. It's perfect for some pencils, some markers. It also fits a pair of glasses really easily, sunglasses or readers, and then cute little handles for it. Love that. So we will discuss how to make that your own in a little while, but you could see how, I mean, it takes very little fabric, especially if you make it scrappy. And then there's a little bit of fusible fleece inside. You could use batting scraps that are cut off from a quilt, because again, it's tiny. And I will say, you know, if you go kind of crazy with your piecing or with your quilting, obviously it's going to take a little bit longer to construct, but I feel like I could, you know, mass produce some of these and maybe they would do well at the craft fair. So you let me know your thoughts. I've never even been to this craft fair. I didn't even know the high school did a craft fair. So first off, we need to get some, you know, some promotions out there. I mean, maybe that's where I should volunteer my time. How to promote this craft fair better. I also want to reach out to you and ask, you know, how do you know what to charge for things when you're doing something like a craft fair? Because I'm kind of struggling with this a little bit. You know, I like to take my time into consideration, of course, the materials that it takes to make the items. And once I kind of get this all together, the craft fair is in a couple months, so I do have a little bit of time to prepare, but I thought it would be useful to do a blog post or something with all of the information that I'm able to gather and how I'm able to prepare. Maybe it will help others as well. So I welcome your input. If you are somebody who does craft fairs or you've done one in the past, you know, obviously, first and foremost, I want to support the band and all of the activities. But, you know, it would be nice to get back some of my investment, right? So I like to, as I mentioned, account for the time that it takes, the materials, but I also don't want to go too overboard, you know? So anyways, I welcome your input. Please put it in the chat and we will talk about that as we move forward this afternoon. I also want to make sure that everyone is aware of our straps, handles, and key fobs embroidery sewing session. This is in partnership with embroiderydesigns.com, who have graciously provided everyone who registers for this 6 designs in different widths that you can use to embroider webbing, canvas, cork, faux leather, basically the material of your choice to create custom embroidered straps for all of your purses and totes and bags. This is a very extensive session that takes you through all of how to use standalone embroidery designs, how to use continuous embroidery designs, how to use those border designs and match them up seamlessly end for end, which is so stressful, right? We've got to get it perfect when we want something to be continuous. And then when we are embroidering something like webbing that has a fixed width to it, we don't want to veer off of the webbing when we're doing the embroidery. So there are tons of videos taking you through all the techniques. Not only will you learn to embroider webbing, cork, faux leather, and canvas to create straps, but after you embroider them, then we take you through all kinds of different strap variations to make. So you'll learn how to make a straight strap, an adjustable hybrid strap, and you will learn how to make a key fob, and you will also learn how to make sew-in handles. So if you want to create a tote bag where your handles are just sewn into the upper edge, that is probably the simplest version you can go for, but you will have these beautiful embroidered straps that will really take your bag to the next level. So this, all these techniques you can also apply to things like belts, dog collars, leashes, those types of things. And you can also use these techniques for things like curtain borders, towel borders, anywhere where you want to use those continuous designs or those border designs and you want them to match up, or you want some tips on how to use those designs, this would be the session for you. So $19.99 is what the session costs. You get over $22 in embroidery designs when you register. You also get all access to all the videos. I think there's at least 8 videos in this session. There's a post that goes with every video with step-by-step instructions and pictures to guide you through. There's also a Q&A on every single lesson page that connects you directly with us, your Sulky support staff. So lots of benefits to joining this session. And last week, if you missed it, I took you through a video tutorial that explains how to navigate through one of our sessions. So if you've never joined us before for a session, I gave you kind of a bird's eye view of what the session pages look like once you're able to go in when it's all activated, which happens next Tuesday, August 12th. You will get an email if you are registered that everything is available for viewing. You don't have to view right on that day. You can view anytime you want. If you want to work on lesson 1 on one day and then go back and do the key fob another day for, lesson 5 or whatever it is, you choose the way you want to learn and how many lessons you want to go through per day or per month or whenever you have a chunk of time. That's what's great about these sessions is there's a beginning and end point for every video. So you don't have to sit down with the whole thing in front of you all at once. There are natural stopping points and the session remembers where you left off. So the next time you have a pocket of time to sew, you just log in, find this session in your library, and you can start where you left off. You can always go back and forth too and review any of the information, and it never expires. So really great stuff. There are 4. I did want to show you just a better view of all the designs that you get once you register for the session. Some are standalone, some are continuous, some can just be used as a standalone design, and some are more difficult than others to embroider on webbing versus canvas versus cork and faux leather. And all of that is explained to you during the session. So within those pages, I give you some tips on which design to use where to have the best success with it. And you can see how they're different widths based on the different widths of straps or handles or key fobs that you are creating. So this is the design pack. Again, it's valued at over $22. And then these are our kit options as well. There are 4 kit options. And on the website, when you head on over to look at the kits, which I did link directly to the kits and the session in the description of today's post. So when you head on over to check out the kits, you will see which strap does kit A make, which strap does kit B make, and so on. Kit D is obviously the key fob there. It comes with that little key fob hardware. And I think it's less than $15, that kit. So these are priced at a really amazing deal. Up until the end of this month, you can get the kit deal or until they sell out, because we will not be refueling these kits. Once they're gone, they are gone. And some of these kits will make more than one strap. You can see kit C comes with webbing and it also comes with canvas. So for kit C in particular, you can either make a strap out of webbing or a strap out of canvas, and then you can use the other substrate to create a pair of handles. So you have lots of options with kit C. Kit B has different hardware options. So you can make different styles of straps with kit B, and then you'll have some left over to create something else or to create another type of strap. So lots of options here. I'm super excited about these kits. as you can imagine, they took a lot of effort to, curate and to pick and choose what we were using where and when. And everything is explained within those session pages. So you will also know what designs to pair with what width of webbing, depending on the kit that you choose. Of course, you can get all of the kits and do all of the straps and all of the handles as well. All right, let's see. Someone is saying the kits are already sold out. How is that possible? My goodness. Let me check this out. Okay. I'm showing in stock for all 4 of the kits. So Patrick, let me know what kit you are referring to. And I will make sure to check it out. Let me just refresh the page and make sure I'm not missing something. Yep, it's showing in stock for me. Maybe you just need to refresh. I'm not sure what happened. But I'm showing Kit D, that key fob kit, only $13.99. That's the special price. Kit C is the 1-inch webbing. That one's under 25 bucks. And then Kit B is $33.99. Kit A is $22.99. Let's see. I tried both Kit A and B, and they're both out of stock. Huh. What is happening here? Let me see what happens. Well, something weird is popping up, isn't it? Let me see if I can troubleshoot this. It's a good thing I have my friends at sulky.com who hopefully will answer me during this live stream. Okay. I'll see if I can get an answer. Thank you so much for letting me know. That's crazy because when you go to the website, everything says in stock. And then when you try to add to cart, there's a pop-up that says it's out of stock. Honestly, I've never seen that on the website before. So something must be up, unless they truly are sold out. Let's see. Oh, okay. So they are not sold out. You have to click on the kit itself to add it to your cart. Let's see. We're having an issue on the website. I was going to say something's up. So you could call customer care. I'm just going to put this on the screen. It's very small though, so you probably can't read it. You can call 1-800-874-4115. And you should be able to, okay, so let me see here. Instead of hitting add to cart, let's just click on the kit itself. So just click on the image and then you can add it to your cart. And then mine was added to cart. All right. So it's a little confusing. So instead of clicking on add to cart on that main page, just click on the strap kit image. It'll take you to a new page and then you can add it to the cart. I don't know what's up with the website, but I'm so glad you all told me that. But you should be able to get all 4 kits at this time. All right. Perfect. I'm so glad you all let me know that. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Perfect. Anita, you're so funny. She says, can someone sell me more time to do all the creating in my head? I feel ya. Okay, Marianne says, I'm very interested in strap making. I've purchased several purse designs that I have yet to make due to concern about making straps. Well, I will say that the webbing straps are probably your best bet, and they're not that difficult to embroider if you have the right stabilizer combination. So this session is definitely for you. And then I also show you how to create the straps using those different materials, cork, faux leather, canvas. And also there is a pattern for straps. It's called the Make a Strap pattern. It's by Sally Tomato. And during the session, I do use that strap pattern to create some different types of straps, but you don't need to have the strap pattern. I just highly recommend it. And if you're making multiple strap kits, you only need the one pattern. If you do want to have these cute little strap connectors, this is similar to the strap connector pieces that come with the kit. Depending on the type you're creating, they look a little bit different. You can also self-draft just a piece of, or a rectangular piece of no fray fabric to use as your strap connector, but it helps to conceal the raw end of your strap and then also connect your hardware. So I'm just going to use this. I have the little, excuse me, I'm dropping things all over the place. I have a little key fob I will undo here. So let's say you're just using an O-ring, which we're not using in the class, but you get the idea. Any kind of hardware really will work depending on how you're going to connect your strap. So on this side would be how you connect your strap to your bag. Then on this side, you would sandwich your raw edges between those layers, and you have this accent piece that you can feature some cork fabric or a little scrap of faux leather. Really pretty way to finish a strap. I do recommend, though, which comes in the kit, hardware that's more like this, swivel clips, things like that. Then your strap is removable, and you can use it on a ready-made bag or a bag that you've made yourself to switch out the straps and make sure that your straps are just as pretty or even prettier than a basic tote bag that you might have purchased. All right, so lots of people coming in with their craft fair ideas. Mug rugs, that's a great idea. Coasters or koozies with the school logo. I love that. Actually, I was thinking of taking this key fob design, which is from one of our sessions that we did last year when we did our ultimate phone case. The ultimate phone case from Designs by Juju came with this bonus key fob design, which I added a cute little monogram to. So if you missed that session, you can still purchase it at sewingonline.sulky.com. Those ultimate phone cases might do well as well, but I will say they're a little bit more involved. So I don't know, it goes back to that pricing question, like what are people kind of willing to spend at something like this? But at any rate, I was thinking it'd be really cute to do these little key fobs, but put the school logo or a little phrase on here for the craft fair. So I don't know. Would you charge maybe $10 for this? Is that not enough? We'll discuss. You let me know in the comments. All right. Let's see. Penny says, you never make your time in crafting, maybe your materials. I would say under $10. Under $10 sells well. Okay, thank you for that. All right. Good morning, Sharon. Thanks for saying hello. Hey, Colleen. Okay, love the flying geese idea. All right, shall we get to it? One more thing, speaking of Colleen, because I know she's joining me for this tour, but one more thing I wanted to make sure everyone is aware of. Our Christmas market tour with craft tours closes in 2 days. We have a few spots open for registering for this amazing trip through Germany and Austria with craft tours. I'm going to be taking you to the Sulky factory so you can see where Sulky thread is made and manufactured. It's an amazing tour. It is never open to the public, and we get to have our own private tour. It's really fascinating. I don't know if you remember those how it's made videos, or when I was little, I remember an episode of Sesame Street where they were showing you how crayons were made. And I was like glued to the TV. It's so fascinating to see how these things are actually made. It really makes you appreciate everything that goes into this. And you have a new love and appreciation for thread that, is holding your sewing projects together and or being used in this fabulous, embellishment. So at any rate, you're absolutely going to love that. But that's just like one afternoon of this whole tour, where we will be going to the Christmas markets in Bavaria and staying in this quaint little Bavarian village. And then we go to Austria and we see all these places where The Sound of Music was filmed. It's just an incredible landscape. The food is amazing. These Christmas markets are unlike anything you've ever seen before. And just check it out. I link directly to our Sulky Christmas market tour in the description of today's post. So you can click on over, get payment information, get the itinerary, and you can ask questions through that link. You can call them directly. I will say it's better to call them now that our tour is closing in a couple of days. Better to call them and get your questions answered than to sit and wait for an email. And if you have any questions for me about what happens on the tour or things like this will be my 4th Christmas market tour, or my 4th Germany tour, I should say. So I should be able to answer most of the questions for you as far as your experience on our amazing coach, our experience with our amazing craft tour host, or anything like that. Please feel free to reach out to me at customercare@sulky.com. And I'd be happy to answer those questions for you so you can make your winter plans and join us on this trip of a lifetime. Also, if you are interested, we are headed to Greece in 2026. We will be going in the end of May, and this is going to be another unforgettable experience. So I highly encourage you to check out our tours for Greece. You can still get on a payment plan, which makes it a little bit more affordable to reach that goal, I guess, by the time that we depart. And so these are just some amazing opportunities that you can plan for in the coming months. All right, let's see. Christmas market sounds fun. It's so fantastic. And I will say that if you are a solo traveler, or if you've always wanted to go to these places, but you feel like something is holding you back, I highly suggest you check out these tours. Even if you're traveling by yourself, you can get paired with somebody to share a room with. And the wonderful folks at Craft Tours will try their best to pair you up with someone who is kind of like you. A lot of the times when I've gone on these tours, there are singles or solo travelers who find a new best friend, whether they're rooming with them or it's just somebody that they really connect with on the tour. And you become like family after these, 7, 8, 10-day tours. And it's just a really incredible experience from that perspective as well. Meeting new people and having this experience together just really kind of bonds you for forever. If you are, concerned about traveling alone, or you're always that person who makes all the travel arrangements and has the stress of all of that when you're on your vacation, and then when you're done with your vacation, you feel like you need a vacation. Ask me how I know this. Craft Tours does all of that work for you. So you literally wake up in the morning, you have your fantastic breakfast, you get on the bus, and you're like, where are we going today? It's just such a stress-free way to travel. And again, if you're on your own, then you're not anymore. You have this group of people with you, and it's just a really, really great experience. So check that out. And I did have a question. Someone said, are any husbands going on the tour? And all of the time we have couples come on our tours. And even the men who have never sewn will come to the sewing workshop and try their hand at needle and thread and they're such great sports, and they end up just having a blast. So if you and your husband want to go, or a brother, or even a son, I had a mother-son duo on one of my tours, and they were just, it was so great. So great. So bring your friends and family, or come alone, and we will match you up with someone, or you can also get a solo room as well. That is definitely an option. All right, so we better get to today's project, which is our Flying Geese Pencil Pouch. Again, this is not my pattern. The pattern is by A Spoonful of Sugar, which, how cute is that name? Love it. I linked directly to get the PDF pattern in the description of today's post, so you can head on over and grab that pattern and then change it up either the way I'm doing it or the way you want to do it. So this is my cute little tiny tote, right? So I added this panel of flying geese. Now, in order to add this panel and really showcase the flying geese, I had to change up all the cutting dimensions for the tiny tote. So this is not what you will see when you buy up the pattern. The pattern has 3 sort of stripes of fabric, and I just decided that I wanted to do a little bit of quilting, a little bit of piecing, and use some more scrap fabric pieces. So if you want to create this, but you only have some little squares of fabric or something like this, you could easily incorporate that into your center panel for the tiny tote and create it a million different ways. All right, so, and yes, this does fit some pens and pencils. I'll show you, I have a little Sharpie marker right here, so it's perfect size for some pens and pencils. Also, some sunglasses or readers will fit right inside here. I happen to have my lemon little glasses here. They fit perfectly, and it's a little bit padded. So you have a little bit of protection. If you do want to use it for glasses, it's a little bit padded in there and gives them a little bit of cushion while you're transporting them. And I just love the addition of these little handles. I feel like every zipper pouch I make from now on should have some little handles on it, because cuteness overload. Love it. Okay, so first up, here's what my pencil pouch looks like. And then here's the inside. So again, you can see it fits some pens and pencils quite perfectly. All right, so first up, I just lined up all my materials. You'll need a zipper. You only need a 7-inch zipper. My zipper was much longer, and I cut it down to size. You need some lining fabrics, your exterior fabrics, your fabrics for your flying geese, a little bit of fusible batting or fusible fleece. If you have batting scraps that are not fusible, all you need is some Sulky KK2000 temporary spray adhesive, and all of a sudden you can make your batting or your fleece tacky, okay, by adding the KK2000. So don't worry if yours isn't fusible. It's a very small rectangle. The fusible just makes your quilting a little bit easier because nothing shifts, right? Your outer fabric is completely fused to that batting layer. All right, but again, KK2000 would be great as a substitute. You also need some little zipper tab pieces, and that is so when you go to sew your side seams, you're not sewing over the end of your zipper, making it kind of bulky. Instead, you're going to sew over your little fabric tab that is added to the end of the zipper, which just gives you a little bit cleaner finish for the edges of your zipper and allows you to, you know, fully open your tote, your tiny tote, without your zipper being compromised there in the seam. So very smartly patterned, we'll say. All right, so first up, we're going to mark our little squares for our flying geese. So when you create flying geese, you're going to have a rectangle of your goose fabric, right? Your goose nose is the cute little triangle, but we're actually going to start off with a rectangle of fabric, and then we're going to have 2 squares of fabric. So to decipher the size of flying geese that you want to create, it requires some quilt math. Can we have a support group for quilt math? Because as with many students, I thought to myself, when am I going to use all this geometry? When am I going to use all this math? I'm not going to be an engineer or something, right? Well, here I am, a professional sewer and content creator, and I have to use quilt math all the time. So thank God I was listening in geometry and whatnot, but it still stresses me out just a little bit. So here's how to think about the flying geese. Create your goose rectangle in the exact size that you want for your finished flying geese block, and then create your little, I call them sky squares. Those are the little sky pieces that are going to be on either side of your goose triangle. So create your sky squares the same dimension as your short side of your rectangle. So let's just say, for ease of quilt math, that our rectangle is 2 by 5, just making it up. So we're going to have a 2 by 5 rectangle of goose, and then we're going to have a 2 by 2 square of sky. Everyone with me? I know, math, ugh. So on our squares, we are going to draw a diagonal line from upper edge to lower edge across our sky squares, okay? That's going to be our stitching line for our flying geese block. All right, I used a pencil just so it would really show up, but you would want to use a removable fabric marker or chalk that will be easily removed. You don't want pencil lead to kind of transfer to your fabrics. All right, so now you're going to place your first sky square right side facing your goose rectangle, and you're going to sew along that line that you just drew. Then you're going to trim your seam allowance. So about a 1/4 inch, well, an exact 1/4 inch away from that stitching line, you're going to trim up what you just sewed. And then you can either discard that little triangle, or you can save it for an even smaller, tinier quilt block of some sort, or fabric collage, or whatever you like to do with your tiny little scraps. Okay. Now we're going to take our next sky square, place it right side facing our goose rectangle along the opposite edge, and we're going to sew along that diagonal line. And we're going to repeat to trim along our seam allowance, and then press it nice and flat. And then you may have to trim up your flying geese rectangle. I just had to trim up the upper edge just a tiny bit, but you do want to be careful to preserve that point. You don't want to trim that off or trim right up against it, because when you go to sew all of your flying geese together, you want your goose nose, your triangle point, to be intact. So just keep that in mind when you're squaring up your block. Someone is putting quilt math in the chat, and it's so confusing. So I hope this was a little bit easier to digest. Okay. Once you have all of your flying geese rectangles all sewn, then you're going to piece them together. So keep in mind your outer blocks are going to be a little bit longer than your interior blocks because of those seam allowances, right? But see how our points are still intact as we go along? So you'll create as many flying geese blocks as you need for your front and back of the pouch. So you'll have 2 flying geese rectangles for the center part of your tiny tote. Or honestly, whatever tote you want to create. This would be a really cute inset block on a pocket, really cute on a larger zipper tote, or zipper pouch rather. So you don't have to use the tiny tote. I just think it's so adorable and it's great for back to school timing. Even a teacher would love this as a little welcome back to school gift. And we'll talk about personalizing this further as well. So once you have that, you want to make sure to press as you sew as well, keeping everything nice and flat so you can add some quilting. So speaking of quilt math, I will come clean, and even after all of my quilt math, I was a little bit short on what I needed for the tiny tote. So I added a tiny little strip of fabric along those edges so that I could make sure to match up my other pattern pieces for the tote. But you will see that those little strips ended up being in my seam allowance. So I just needed to add a 1/2 inch across all of my blocks to create the needed dimensions. So when you go to the full tutorial for the Flying Geese panel that I created, you will get the correct dimensions that you need if you're using the tiny tote pattern, because I went ahead and changed all of those based on my experience. But, you know, I just wanted to show you this to say, don't stress, right? If you create your flying geese and they're a little bit short, just add some strips of fabric. It's not the end of the world. And even if you were going to see the fabric strips along the edges, no one would really even notice that or know that it's there except you. So just don't point it out to anyone, right? All right, so here's what our tiny tote pieces will look like. And again, I completely changed the dimension of the center panel so that I could have these wider, more prominent flying geese blocks. But the tiny tote does show just a smaller strip of fabric going along the center, and I'll show you what that looks like momentarily. But once you have this all figured out, you've got your straps made according to the pattern. It's really simple to put together. You stitch up your exterior, you add your fusible fleece or batting or your non-fusible that is adhered with the KK2000, and then you get to quilt it. You can do very simple quilting and just add some top stitching details along your seams. You can do some more complicated quilting and do some crosshatch patterns. You could use one piece of fabric for the exterior and free motion quilt the whole thing. You could use a stitch out sample from an embroidery project and center that on the front of your tiny tote. You can add a cute little hand embroidery or machine embroidered monogram to the middle of your tote, to that center panel piece. Maybe it says pencils. Maybe it says Ellen stuff. Whatever you want to add to your tote, it's so easy to personalize this and really, really make it your own. You just might have to do a little bit of dreaded quilt math to come up with the dimensions that you need based on that tiny tote pattern. Okay, so here is my finished tote again, but here are some other ones that I made according to the pattern. So you can see it's just 3 fabrics showcased on the exterior, front and back. And actually that bottom rectangle is one rectangle that folds around and creates the tote base. So super simple. It comes together in no time. You can get some really fun colored zippers. Maybe you have some in your stash and you're like, what am I ever going to do with this yellow zipper that I have hanging around? Make a tiny tote for someone going back to school, or maybe a teacher that you know. Or maybe your friends need some cute little eyeglass cases, right? Great way to use up scraps. Great way to personalize, make it your own, add some fun little quilty elements. If you've never made a flying geese block before, make the flying geese panel. Maybe you want to just do some half square triangles like I have up here in this cute little table runner, and you could showcase them going along that center panel. Maybe you want to try your hand at English paper piecing and follow our tutorial from last week to create some hexagons that are appliqued all around the front. So you can make this as intricate or as basic and simple as you want, and they will come together just beautifully. The instructions are very easy, very simple to follow. There's a little bit of a boxed corner on the base that gives it a little bit of dimension, really. I mean, it'll stand up on its own because it has this cute little boxed corner. And the lining is constructed in the exact same way. So it's fully lined, no exposed seams, and you just have a little bit of hand sewing to do along that lower edge, and you have a perfect little tiny tote. So next up is for me to make a bunch of tiny totes and then kind of decide how much I should charge for them at this craft fair. So any ideas? I mean, you know, obviously if I made it super plain with no piecing, I could probably, I don't know, 10, 15 bucks. Is that too much? But for something that's, got a lot of piecing and some quilting, maybe is 20 bucks too much? I have no idea. I need to really hit up some craft fairs and see what's out there. Probably, do some research. But again, I don't want to go too crazy with it. And I just want to offer something that's cute and fun that the kids will enjoy as well as the adults, and something that makes a great gift for the holidays too. You could really grab up a bunch of these and gift them away to, your sewing bee or your sewing guild, or maybe you have a bunko group and everybody gets one in their own fabrics. I could find some, licensed fabrics in the local football team or something like that, would probably resonate well, I would think, with the crowd at the high school. I'm always dropping things because I just have stuff everywhere so that I can just show you all everything. All right, so what are your ideas for personalizing this? A lot of ideas and comments have come in. Let's see. Anita says these are just adorable. I do pencil pouches for the grand littles for back to school each year. These look super fun. Even if you had a little preschooler or one that is off to kindergarten, how cute would they be just with their tiny totes headed to back to school? Oh my gosh, love it. Stephanie, thank you. She says you always have such good ideas for changing things up. That's one of my favorite things about sewing, quite honestly, is looking at a pattern and saying, how can I make this different? How can I make it my own? But of course, you can just use your favorite fabrics and all of a sudden it becomes your own. All right. Jana says, if we sell things made using someone's pattern, should we receive permission to sell first from them? Yes, I would say yes. A lot of times it's written in the pattern. It will say, this pattern is not to be sold or distributed. A lot of the times that's referring to the pattern itself. So for example, this tiny tote pattern, I can't just go give that to all of you. It's somebody else's property, I'm just showcasing this flying geese technique using this pattern and encouraging you to go buy it from them, right? That's their business, that's their property. A lot of the times a pattern will say, you can't sell or distribute this pattern, but you can make items from it and sell them. For example, I know a lot of the Sally Tomato patterns have that language in their patterns. This one says you cannot sell or distribute that pattern under any circumstances, but if there is no language about that, I would encourage you to contact the pattern designer and say, hey, I was thinking of using this at a craft fair. Is it okay if I sell the finished goods that I make from your pattern? I have honestly never had someone say no to me, but it is a great idea to get their permission. Again, this is their business, this is their livelihood, and we want to support that. So great question. Thank you. Anita says, add a little felt charm with a name embroidered on it. Love that. And yes, most crafters do underprice their items unless it's a very publicized event. I agree with that. And, of course, we all, value our time so much. Of course. I mean, who wouldn't? But we're really doing it because we love it. And we do get exploited for that, don't we? So that's why I want to make some smaller things where I think that it's accessible for people. They can purchase it and not have it be this huge commitment. I'm not going to bring a full-size quilt to this craft fair. I'm not going to bring, a really great tote bag that I spent $80 on a kit for. I mean, no, none of that's happening. But yes, I do appreciate your comments about that. Ooh, little tassels to add to the zippers. That's another great idea. And Esther echoes my comment. She says several sites will say that you can make their items and sell them. Yeah, it's usually just you cannot sell their pattern or cannot sell their actual design, which no, we do not want to do that, of course. Great questions. Thank you all. Let's see. Susie says you make it seem so easy. I will say it's a very easy pattern to walk through. There are great graphics that take you through all the steps. So it's a very simple one to work your way through. Let's see. Embrace the mistakes. Unique shows creativity. Love that comment. I think we need a bumper sticker that says embrace the mistakes. Love that. Oh, Alexis says, Ellen, I just finished my first Sulky project. I made the Tula Pink organizer and it turned out great. Confident beginner, intermediate level sewing. Love that, Alexis. Everyone give a round of applause to Alexis. Love hearing that. Thank you. All right. Oh, Jana says, I would try to make things as foundation paper piecing so I don't have to calculate anything. I know, quilt math is a doozy, right? All right, let's see. Love everyone's ideas. So very creative. Perfect. Oh, and thank you so much. The Spoonful of Sugar website says you are permitted to sell products on a small scale. Acknowledge where you got the pattern on a hang tag. Yep. Love that. I always want to give credit where credit is due. Great idea to, if you have a little pricing sticker or something, you can say pattern by a spoonful of sugar. So thank you for that. Love that. All right. Well, I appreciate you all joining me today for So What. I hope that you were inspired to get to your sewing machines, even if it's a small project that gets you started in the day or gets you started in the week. It's a great way to build your skills and just to get your mind going, right? Just to get your hands moving and all the things working together, hopefully as they should. It keeps us all young, right? Having our craft and, pursuing it further and just seeing how far we can take it. One of my favorite quotes, and I'll probably butcher it, so I'm just going to paraphrase it, is by Eric Clapton, because he thought someone called him a master guitar player. And he said, I'm not a master. I'll never master this instrument. And that's why I love it so much, because there's always improvement, always things to learn and people to learn from. And I feel the exact same way about sewing. So I'm really glad that we can all come together here every Tuesday and learn something from each other and expand our skills and grow our sewing together. And that's what Sew What is all about. So thanks for joining me again. And be sure to register for our amazing embroidered straps, handles, and key fobs session in partnership with embroiderydesigns.com, because you will really be expanding your skills with this one. It's a little bit challenging, but you will feel so accomplished when you have your beautiful, flawless embroidered straps by the end of it, and you can showcase your handiwork literally right there on your sleeve, on your shoulder, on your tote bags and purses and more. And don't forget, you get all of these beautiful designs, 6 in total, over $22 in designs just by registering. So really, for $19.99, you're getting all these designs, all these videos. It's like getting everything for free. It's a great deal, really great deal. And be sure to grab up your kits. Again, click on the picture of the kit you want rather than hitting add to cart right there. Once you click on the picture, then you can add to cart until we get our website problem figured out. So I'm glad to hear that some of you were able to get your kits. They are not sold out, just for reference. And you can always email us at customercare@sulky.com if you have issues with the website or issues with our session or any questions that you want to ask to Sulky support staff. So have a great rest of your day, everyone, and I'll see you next Tuesday for another